So we're just going to get into it. What did your parents / the people that raised you do to help you become the runner that you are today?
Great question. Both my parents weren't distance runners, I'd say. Dad ran a couple of halves. Mum was a sprinter in school, but I have no real distance running pedigree through my family. There was just an overwhelming sense of support in whatever I did as a kid. And I played every sport. I played all the American sports. I played basketball, track and field. I didn't train it, but I liked it.
You said track and field.
Track and
Thank
field.
you. You didn't say athletics.
No. It's not
Every
athletics.
American that we hear athletics, we go, what are you talking about?
I know who's watching.
Yeah, thank you.
So yeah, and then like all the team sports, like cricket, all the codes of football, like that was me. But like I didn't run really until 22, basically, and it was to keep off the beers at uni. So yeah, I mean, like there's athletes in my family, but no one was. I don't think anyone's actually run a marathon outside of myself.
Very, very interesting information, and yeah, it's always interesting where you're like, did someone push or pull you to do what you wanted to do? And I found that, I guess pushing you is, hey, you should do more of it. And pulling is like, don't do it, Or like, we're not going to even foster it because we don't even care about it. But it sounds like it was a middle ground with your parents because they did run. So you saw running, whereas no one in my family ran. I just gravitated to it. And I've always gravitated towards it. It was Prefontaine. It was me going to distance running because I ran track. I always liked to run track because I was fast. So I was like, yeah, track made sense. It was the evolutionary next step. But distance running was always this thing that I liked doing, but I never actually did it competitively. And I watched the first Prefontaine, the not Jared Leto one.
Yeah. The good one.
Yeah, the good one. Thank you. Yeah, everyone, every runner's like, yeah, that's the good one. And I just remember him being like, let's go for an easy 10-miler at 5-minute pace. And I went, how the hell do you run? And for you non-Americans, 5-minute pace would be about
320s? 330s?
Well, yeah, low 5 minutes is 320s.
Yeah.
310s.
310.
And then high 5 minutes would be about 340.
Yeah.
340 minutes per kilometer. And I just remember being like, how do you run 10 miles at an easy 5-minute pace? Like that blew my mind. So that was my catalyst. But yeah, okay. What are the top 3 things you think a person that's new and even experienced at the marathon should focus on that they usually don't? So you don't have to do the runner's world with the top 3 things that people need to do for the marathon. Like talk about something that's very specific to running the marathon event.
That's a really good question. So I think the number one thing is to actually just appreciate everything outside of your watch. And I know it's so hard to do, particularly for 2023. Everyone's got a watch, right? Everyone knows the splits. Everyone knows the where the K markers are going to be. Everyone's got time in mind. But all of a sudden, I think a couple of weeks ago was a really good example of times are out the window. It was a Sydney marathon. It was the largest marathon in Australian history. And like you said, it was bigger than just a race. It wasn't a running race. It was a celebration of people doing 42.2K who never thought they were going to be able to do it. And a lot of people in Sydney came out and actually supported them in doing that. So that just human movement aspect of the event for me was very inspirational. I shared a tear or two on the day. We were welcoming people over the line at 7.5 hours. They've been out there in 30 degrees for the best part of 4 hours. Almost 4 times longer than the winners of the race.
Sorry, 30 degrees Celsius is about 80 to 85 Fahrenheit.
It was hot.
Yes,
yeah.
Which is hot. As everyone knows, that is hot. Okay,
really hot. So I think the number one thing is just enjoy the event itself. That's from a runner's perspective. From an event delivery perspective, number 2 is attention to detail. Understand exactly every single touch point you have with the runner. So the runner is looking for X, Y, and Z. They're looking for a training plan 16 weeks out. They're looking for a community to join. And they're looking for, little bits on nutrition, little bits on hydration. So that's what we tried to do, right? We started up the Sydney Marathon Run Club, both in Sydney and in Brisbane, because we wanted to create our own community with our own brand and have our partners on board. So ASICS, did the shoe try-ons, and we had Goo there, so you can try the gels that are going to be on course. But really get those intimate touch points with the audience, because all of a sudden they're thinking it's not just a race on race day. It's actually something that I can resonate with for weeks and months leading up to the event. And we saw that on socials. We saw people actually continually talking about not just, hey, I ran 32K this weekend. It's like, I'm 13 weeks out from the Sydney Marathon, and this is something that I never thought I was going to do. And I feel really connected because I have my training plan. I have my run club, my whole run club in Sydney or Brisbane or wherever around Australia or internationally, they're really getting behind it. That was something that really, I was like, wow, okay, I've never seen an Australian event do it. The American events do it incredibly well. New York Road Runners, the New York Marathon, that is the absolute platinum standard. I've never seen any other road running association or club around the world do it as well as them. So we're not reinventing the wheel. We're just trying to do something that is already being done so well in America. So that was, number 2. Make sure you have touch points with the runners, relatable touch points, authentic touch points, whenever you can. I think number 3, so I think as well, what we saw this year, there were so many people who firstly never had run a marathon, but that might be runners, right? It might be like you. You run 5K, 10K, half marathon. Oh, I can run a marathon. I'll choose one when I'm going to do it. But there were so many people out there this year that they never, ever, A, considered themselves a runner, B, thought they were going to be running 10K, C, thought they would be running a marathon, and D, thought they would run a marathon in Sydney, which is a little bit lumpy, a little bit New York style. A little bit. Not quite Gold Coast.
Lumpy as in hilly?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
A little bit lumpy.
Yeah, New York
is a lumpy city.
Yeah, it's funny because New York, you think New York is flat because it is. Manhattan's flat.
Yeah.
But those bridges will spike it. That's why there's no world records coming out of New York Marathon. It's just an epic one because you touch all 5 barrels.
Yeah.
And that's the coolest damn thing for me as a New Yorker. I lived there for 12 years, born and raised. And it's like, you get to run through all 5 barrels? That's cool AF, So back to your lumpiness. It is a bit lumpy. Yeah.
It's just but again, there's so many people in New York who never think they're going to run a marathon in their lives. They do a New York Marathon, but the New York Marathon's been around for 52 years. I mean, we've been around for 20 years and people have known us for a couple, or most people have known us for a few months because we've grown. So it's sort of like the stories and the people and the faces. We'd never seen anything like it before. Australia has never seen anything like that before, like we did a couple of weeks ago. So that really hit home where I saw this massive pack at 10-minute mile, 12-minute mile, 14-minute mile pace. And they were sprinting across the finish line and they're like, I'm a marathoner. I never thought I was going to do this. That was really special. And like I said, those 7+ hour marathons, something else, man. I saw one of the guys, his name was Ben. He was part of the Achilles running squad. And he has 2 guides with him there because, he's visually impaired, so he couldn't see where he's going. He's out there for 7.5 hours, but his 2 guides were holding his hand with tethers for 7.5 hours. Comes across the line, emotions pouring out. I'm like, damn, that's why we're all here.
Yeah.
That was awesome. So, I mean, yeah, that's it. People who never thought they were going to run a marathon. Sydney never thought that it was going to have a marathon like this. And again, the World Major candidacy is a big part of that. We are trying to work towards becoming the next World Major, but also just staying relevant for 12 months a year. And everything that we're doing now for 2024, that is the priority number 1. How do we become something that people are thinking about 12 months a year? How are we in people's minds for 12 months a year? Like London, like New York. People talk about the World Majors 12 months a year. We need to now fall in that category as well.
A big shout out to the 7-hour marathon finishers. The 5-hour ones too. No, disrespect to you. I saw this Instagram reel, and it was like, yeah, these people running in 2.5 hours. Respect. To the pros and the elites and sub-elites that can run in 2 hours. It's like, what about those people that are spending 5 hours? And I'm like, absolute respect. My partner, she finished her Ironman 2 hours after me, and I was suffering. I did it in 10 hours, 45 minutes or something. She did it in 12 hours or maybe even low 13s, 2.5 hours longer than me. And I was like, you did 20% more, 25% more. You were out there suffering. It's not like she wasn't suffering as much as me, Yeah. Eliud Kipchoge, he suffers for
2 hours and 1 minute.
Yeah, 2 hours and 1 minute, whereas everyone else is suffering for 5 hours. So, you got to give them the big shout outs of respect.